Hey, this is the video that I promised on my latest Instagram post about uh, May 2023. And what happened is, as a quick recap, I somehow overcommitted and ended up being on the road for essentially 3 out of 4 weeks in May, attending various events and also setting up meetings with my friends and people in my network in the cities where those events were held. So I went to California, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, and I've also attended a couple of events here in Toronto, and I've also went to Fort Lauderdale and Miami, and had a chance to interact with people with all kinds of businesses, anywhere from they're starting out to a lot of 6, 7, 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs, and even one billionaire. So this is my attempt to kind of summarize everything that I've learned and heard in the last month. This is literally what is happening in at least the digital marketing and e-commerce space, based on my interactions with peers. And it's probably going to be a little bit of jumping all over the place, but I think this is the best way for me to like download the information, do a little bit of a brain dump, and make sense of it all, and hopefully someone else can benefit from it. So I just have some notes on my phone I'm going to be referencing, but essentially, yeah. So one kind of overarching thing that I discovered is that despite what you see on Instagram and social media, people are struggling a little bit. It's definitely tough out there, and anywhere from a business owner telling me that they had to go down from 25 people to 5 people, or from 40 people to 20 people. Another business owner having to take out a SBA loan. Another business owner told me they almost went bankrupt in 2021 and barely survived. An agency owner telling me they lost 80% of their paying clients, or maybe 80% of their revenue, with clients pulling back their marketing budgets and spend. So definitely, things are still happening. The economy is still chugging along. There's still moves occurring, and it's just been a little bit tougher for most people, right? Another thing is a lot of people are taking chips off the table, those who can, of course. So I've spoken to at least several people who have sold their business for 7 or 8 figures in cash, and now they're sitting on this war chest looking for their next move, or just keeping their powder dry in this recession. So that's another interesting dynamic is that I observed. All right, what else? People is definitely a common complaint and constant problem for entrepreneurs of all levels, is finding good people, finding great teams, and especially team leaders. That seems to be a constant pain point. And actually, anywhere from the $1 billion level all the way to 6 and 7 figures. Some are able to hire superstars. Some are better off kind of grabbing people off the street and bringing them up to the level where they need to be. Everybody has their own little methodology or SOP that works for them. But yeah, I mean, finding good people seems to be the common answer on how to scale your company, how to get ahead. Anywhere from that person who built a $2.1 billion IPO company to a CEO of also a $1 billion CPG company that was talking to a 9-figure entrepreneur and kind of coaching and mentoring them. And I was privy to the conversation, luckily. It's given people a mission and a leader and clear KPIs, and kind of led them do their thing. That seems to be one of the keys to success, right? Another thing is, jumping a little bit ahead, is the need to move towards a product or service that gives you a higher LTV, lifetime value of a customer. So ideally a consumable or a subscription type product, because it's getting harder and harder to make it work with like a single purchase thing, whatever that is, their product or service, because the cost of acquisition is becoming so high. Everyone's really looking to products or services that allow that recurring purchase component or subscription, to the point where somebody said that they had to shut down literally multiple brands in their portfolio, because even though they were profitable, they were still not, I guess, underperforming compared to the ones where there was a consumable component. So they're going like all in on those areas where it's like food and beverage, or something that's personal care, beauty. And on that note, seems like what's to involve right now in this 2023 recession are industries which are more resilient to people being squeezed by inflation and the recession. So something that people kind of don't stop buying, like, for instance, personal care products, obviously food and beverage, as well as beauty for, women typically always want to look their best, no matter what happens. Things of that nature. I guess maybe like safety and security, insurance and whatnot, right? So those are just some kind of like high level observations and trends that I observed in terms of what should you be working on, what kind of products you should be launching, what kind of industries and verticals you should be going into. It seems like this is a better answer in terms of like longevity and also the ability to compete. Like literally one that CEO of that CPG company said that the reason why they're winning is because their LTV for their subscription-based products is way higher than all of their competition. It's something like close to $500, and that allows them to spend a tremendous amount of money on paid advertising and really outbid everyone else who doesn't have that strong backend, that strong subscription, and that $500 runway for acquiring a customer. So back to the point which I made about that people are kind of a little bit struggling, and some people are maybe they had success in the past and are in their 7-8 figures when it was quote unquote easy, when the internet was booming, and now they're kind of sitting observing, looking for the next move. I guess that's okay. So like if you are struggling, just like I have been struggling a little bit for the last couple of years, that's okay. A lot of people are in the same boat. You're not alone, as it turns out. Again, what you see on Instagram is not necessarily what goes on in the real world. And don't get me wrong, there's still enough people that are actually crushing it, right? And there's still a proportion of people that are struggling, even though they are experienced and have been able to make money in the past. Okay. Another interesting takeaway, those mostly from the Salt Lake City event, which was like mostly around very heavily Amazon and enterprise level brand centered. So it was companies like Liquid Death and Manscaped and Stanley Cup, the Tumblr company, and a lot of other famous or somewhat famous brands. And the company that organized that is a $1 billion SaaS company, and they're moving heavily into AI. So yeah, like basically everyone's talking about AI, everyone's using it, and those who have a lot of resources and a lot of money, they're literally using it in crazy ways. Like that main sponsor of that event in Salt Lake, they did a demo on stage where in 20 minutes, they basically pulled a random brand out of the audience, say, hey, what's your brand? Give us 20 minutes. So the speaker went on to talk about, their company news and trends for about 20 minutes, and in 20 minutes they came back and they produced a full blown 2-minute video ad, completely generated by AI with additional marketing collateral in 7 languages, including Mandarin. That was totally all made by AI. Now that said, they did they do constantly bump into open AI tokens shortage. So they use so much computing power that actually they don't have enough. But it just goes to show you, when you do have a big budget, they can now produce these things at scale very, very quickly. So as a small player, I guess you need to figure out how to stay nimble and how to keep up with that pace. And another interesting theme there was that a lot of these famous brands, they are using comedy as one of their main secrets of success. So like, Liquid Death, Manscaped, they all have these like very hilarious ads and videos on social media that really drive a lot of people towards them and make them laugh. And they credit their success largely to the fact that they make people laugh. And in fact, Liquid Death doesn't call themselves a beverage company. At least the speaker said we're a comedy company with some products attached to it, which was really interesting to me, because I always kind of use this like serious direct response style, benefit call to action style advertising, and rarely used something like a comedy skit like these guys. So that's one interesting takeaway from that event. And another thing is, of course, I didn't realize how big marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, Target, and then all the ones abroad, like Mercado Libre and the Chinese ones, Alibaba and so on, how big they are in the proportion of the total market. So if those stats are correct, like for instance, all the Shopify stores combined, that would be like 7% of the market, and Amazon is like 50% of the US e-commerce market, which is I didn't realize that the disparity is so high. So now that touching on the subject of Amazon, I had a chance to speak to a bunch of Amazon sellers, which I don't often get to interact with as much as DTC brands, kind of like Shopify stores and whatnot. And while brand building is all the rage recently in the DTC world, on Amazon, I think, there are brand builders there too, but a lot of people who are doing 7, 8, even 9 figures, their strategy seems to be just kind of like find $100 million market and just kind of enter it and become the 101st player in the market, and you will still get like a 1% of that market, which will be $1 million. And you kind of repeat it a few times, and now you have a multi-million-dollar business, right? So it's basically a simple strategy. Obviously, it's not easy to execute, but it's purely based on like what's the size of the pie, and like what's the slice of that pie that I can chew off without relatively doing too much work, right? Like, is there still room for another player without creating too much competition to still kind of get that significant amount of market share? So that seems to be like what is working for some people on marketplaces is simply like big numbers and tiny sliver of a large market. Okay. What are some of the other things? Yeah, and like going back to that, how billionaires think. So that was an interesting, time that I get to spend with basically founder of Solo Brands. They were making camping stoves, and they expanded into other outdoor products, and they eventually IPO'd for $2.1 billion. So that's why I think it's okay to call this person a billionaire, but it was very different from the conventional advice that you hear from like big stages and whatnot. Kind of like the shocking to me part was that he's like, I'm done, I'm retired, and I don't want to have nothing to do with business again. And even though I have built this like $1 billion company once, I probably can do it again, but I'm not sure, first of all. And second of all, I don't want to because it was so hard. And I hated like 50% of all of the things that I had to do to get there, which is a little bit different from others saying, "Oh, I've done this at least once, I can do it again." Here he was like, very confident, as confident as you are after accomplishing something like that. And even then, I guess the message is success is not guaranteed. Just because you've done something once is not a sure 100% guarantee that you're going to be able to do it again. And that entrepreneurship is hard, especially I guess at that level, it's even harder. And it's not as easy as portrayed often in media. So oh yeah, and then on the tail end of the trip, I ended up in Toronto. This was actually a real estate conference, but that kind of dovetails into an interesting, I guess, trend that I'm noticing, or maybe it's just a coincidence. But one of the last speakers on the Amazon conference in Fort Lauderdale, she was basically an acquisition entrepreneur. So instead of launching new businesses, she would buy a existing business, fix it up, basically 10x it over 3 years and sell it. And she's done it 5 or 6 times in a row. And then I had a dinner with a friend the same evening, and he's also got about 25 years of experience in business, online marketing, email marketing, that kind of stuff. And he was talking about how, because it became more difficult, he's looking at acquisitions. And then I had lunch with another person, an agency owner in Miami, and he kind of stumbled into business acquisitions and kind of, well, he's doing more flipping, but it was kind of weird how 3 people in a row talked about the same concept, which then going to the real estate investing conference, multifamily, that's typically essentially what they're doing is they're buying a cash flowing business with like a subscription, because it's a recurring revenue model where the tenants, they subscribe on a monthly basis to receive the place they're going to live in. And ultimately they are buying a cash flowing business and then using some techniques to try to squeeze more money out of it and elevate its value. So essentially it's just like buying a business in a certain asset class. So that was an interesting kind of final observations throughout this whole journey of, that a lot of people are finding more success into just finding something that works, paying for it, and then using their skills and knowledge to get it to the next level, as opposed to starting from scratch, which is hard. And people who are experienced and successful, they were talking about the batting average, literally the term they use is like, why do 9 out of 10 projects we start fail? How do we improve that, right? Like, so that's potentially the answer, is like, how do you improve it? Well, instead of starting from scratch, you buy something that works, and now you just have to make it better. So yeah, talking to these real estate investors and listening to people like Alex Rodriguez and Grant Cardone, and they still all came back to people and how to find teams and how to find people to join your team and what to look for, like that fire in the belly, that enthusiasm, and team player attitude. It was all coming back to the same topics that people in my industry are talking about. So I guess as an overarching key to success is you got to find the best people you can in order to help you get to that level. So those are like the high level thoughts that I have, is basically, in order to do well in today's economy, it has to be something that's more recurring with a higher lifetime value, consumable subscription style business. It has to be in a resilient vertical, something that people will not stop buying even in a recession, ideally. I mean, I guess there's certain trends like AI is crushing it too, and it's new, it's brand new. So there's exceptions to that rule, but it seems to be, you want to be in those defensive type industries, and you gotta really work on hiring, coaching, mentoring, and leadership skills in order to level up. And use humor, use comedy. Don't be all serious. And that's kind of like, for me personally, that's something that's going to be very new, at least in the business, right? Those who know me in person know that I'm usually a pretty funny guy, but that's only in private. So now in my public and business life, I think I need to learn that thing. And marketplaces, another thing. Like, I was always a little bit very or dismissive of marketplaces, but just didn't realize how big of an impact they play in today's economy, at least in the whole overall online e-commerce space. So that's my high-level summary. Just kind of a bit of a brain dump of this May 2023 road trip, which I needed to kind of help me figure out what's next for me in my business. And also the final message is, yeah, it is tough out there for a lot of people. So if you're struggling like I am or others, you're not alone. That's okay. And on the flip side, people are still making money. There's still profitable businesses out there. You just gotta maybe retool, rejig a little bit, and get at it, and you'll be successful. So thank you for listening. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you hear or see anything different in your circles, so let's discuss and maybe do a follow-up video. So thank you. Peace out.